this is a big one. This is a big one.
That's cool. Well, that's Mikey saying this is a big one. And so you should watch this one start to finish, because this is about actually, I don't want to say convincing, because if you have to convince someone to be a part of your film, that's to me a warning sign, but we'll get into that. So we want to talk about, we'll say, convincing someone to be a part of your film as a filmmaker. And so the 5 points that we are going to cover are: put your camera away, be honest, be clear, be human, be inspired. Let's talk about that first point. Put your camera away. What do I mean by that?
You put your camera away and go have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
You're not on camera. Every film I've ever done, Transcend, I had a conversation with Wesley in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know, Janae, I drove down to Ypsilanti, Michigan without a camera, and we talked till midnight she was a man at the time, but we just talked about her struggles. And yeah, that's it. I mean, what I would do with the film. So it's an opportunity. It's like dating. It's an opportunity to see if they want to work with, they want to entrust their story to you, and whether you feel that they are going to be authentic and genuine with you in a way that's going to deliver a great film.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're trying to convince them, because if you over convince them, it's like a relationship. There might be resentment. It likely isn't going to end up going well. So it needs to be kind of a healthy relationship.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying too, is when you put your camera away, you're approaching them as a human, not as a filmmaker. Because a filmmaker, again, I've talked about this, sitting in front of a camera, it's this black judgmental eye. And I think it's a terrible way to meet someone, is that they'll see the camera and not you. You want them to trust you as a person. Number 2, be honest and upfront. It can sometimes feel like you don't want to play all your cards to your character, and sometimes you can't. It's difficult when you're making like an investigative film where you feel someone has done wrong and you're trying to, investigate that. But for the most part, if you're exploring someone's life, you should be very clear with the intentions of the film, which is, I know for you with Transformer, you just spoke to Janae and said, hey, I want to explore your transition from being a man to a woman. You were very upfront. You weren't saying, I want to look at you as an athlete and then try to tell that story.
And what I also said to her, I remember specifically, I said, my hope is to get my friends in the bar who generally wouldn't care about an LGBT character to watch your story and cry. Because I know that what you're going through is real. I know what you're going through is the hardest thing, you've ever gone through. And we need to tell it in a way that's not politically motivated or socially motivated, but is universally human.
Hi, honey.
All right. Hi, nice to see you. It's not a big deal, is it?
No. But, I still like my mat.
Well, for now, both of me are still around, but I can't tell you if it'll stay that way or not.
And I guess I'm not as shocked about you, because the ones I see on TV, I mean, they look like a man trying to look like a woman. There's nothing.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
No, but I mean, they don't.
How your body, how you feel.
Would you think that wasn't his hair, Matt's hair?
Huh?
Would you look?
Janae's hair?
Or her hair?
Yeah.
Would you think that was her hair?
No.
No, you would think it is.
Looks natural, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, as documentary filmmakers, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to, you're trying to have them entrust their life to your camera.
People really appreciate when they don't feel like you have a hidden agenda.
Right.
I know with Amajad and Shalaka from No Country is an Island, we were very upfront where we're like, we know your country's gone through civil war, and we want to look at the ripple effect of that into this Easter bombing. And we just said that. And then if they disagree with that, they at least know what we're trying to do, and they know that we're not trying to have a secret agenda. It's like we're upfront with what we were trying to do.
Yeah,
and sometimes you don't know that until you've met the person, which goes back to our first point, which is put your camera down, meet them as a human. You may then learn what your own personal perspective is.
Yeah, because here's the bottom line, is that I don't want to use this word convince them, but in order for them to give you the life rights to their story, they need to know that their story is safe in your hands, and that you have a voice and a way that you're going to tell it.
Yeah.
If I walk in and say, yeah, I'd like to just document some stuff, and I'll figure it out along the way. It's not going to, I wouldn't feel like I want to entrust my life with you. But if you come at it and you've given it thought, you're thoughtful, you're truthful, you have a vision, like you have, again, all these things we're teaching you, like you have a bit of a style on how you would do it, I hate using the word you're trying to sell, you will sell them, but you're going to make them see that you're going to do justice to their life. And I think that that's empowering and that's, something to strive for, right?
Totally. And number 3 is be clear, and that you want to be clear about your timelines and the needs for the film. So when I'm working on a film, I'm very clear and upfront with the people saying, I'll need this amount of access.
Right.
Like, if it's a film that requires 24/7 access, I'll say that. It never does. But in the case of a film like Rescate, I just told them, I go, in order for me to tell this story the best,
Need to sleep there.
I need to sleep at your headquarters because I need to be there right when you guys get to an accident. And I need to be able to be beside you, shoulder to shoulder, while you're dealing with the accidents. And that way,
because that was the vision you had.
that was the vision I had.
And someone else may say like, I can pop in, and then but see, you were committed to your vision.
Yeah.
And that dictated, you kind of setting the rules for them.
And then
that's how you were going to make it.
Exactly. And then we had that conversation up front. They agreed to it. And then it was like I had full freedom to actually tell the film. And then again, that builds trust because I'm being upfront. You want to build, you need trust with your character.
Yeah. Exactly. And every film is going to be different, just so you know. Like, I think, 2 examples for myself would be like Transformer, where we knew there was a broadcast date, roughly. So I told Janae, I was like, listen, we have to basically be done filming by X date because it needs to air by, Y date. And, we'll get what we get. On the flip side, with His Name is Ray, when I was talking to him about doing the film, we knew that it was more of an art film. There wasn't a broadcast date. So we knew we were more flexible to try and, stick with this as long as we need to get to our end.
Yeah.
So again, like, make sure kind of be honest with them. What's the timeline? Something else I'll throw in is there any payment? I've had different scenarios where characters have asked, is there any honorarium for doing this? And
that's always difficult. And I think you have to make it personal to call for you.
Right.
Some people say never pay a subject. Some cases your film would never happen unless there was, remuneration for them.
Maybe on a longer podcast, we can go into more detail. But I think, the gist of it is, a documentary generally is meant to be done for not financial reasons, but
there's not much money in documentaries.
There's not much money on the budget side, so there's not going to be much money for the character side, but there's exceptions.
Number 4 is be human. You have to remember the people that you're filming are human. They have needs, they have desire, they have family, they have struggles. I think you have to be really caring for them. And when you do care for the character, it comes through in the final film. One of my best commercials, which was shot like a documentary, more of an impressionistic style documentary, if you remember our list of styles, was Beauty in the Battle. And Deli Carr had just had a stroke like 2 or 3 months before this and almost lost his life, had lost a lot of the mobility in his body, and he had rehabbed back to a point that he could finally hold a camera again. And I just was listening to him on the phone for hours, talking about his story, and was very upfront. And I said, I want to inspire people, Deli. I want people who've also had this similar injury or have been in the hospital incapacitated to feel inspired by that. So I need to hear what you're saying. And it comes through in the film. People are very open and upfront in the interviews, but I had to care for his needs. Even like the fact that he couldn't film all day. We ended up, rather than shooting it over, we could have really shot that film in like 2 days, maybe 3 days. We shot it over 7 days because we had to be human. Like, Deli needed time to recover every day. He just got over a stroke.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the right thing to do.
Number 5 point is be inspired. I think if you want to convince someone to be a part of your film, if you're like, this could be anything, I'm not sure what's going to... No. Describe to them, and maybe yourself, what is your dream film, and go for that. Because if people see that you have a vision and you're inspired, they're going to want to be a part of that film. You can't just be like, well, we'll see what happens with your life. You want to sell them a good idea.
Yeah, and I think for me, my career has always been based around just showing up. Flying across the world to Africa to be with this guy, showing up on the doorstep in Ypsilanti to this transgender bodybuilder, meeting a homeless heroin addict on the street, flying to Turkey to see some LGBT refugees trying to get to Canada. It's like, for me, that the inspiration will come through your action. And it's whether you are just trying to make documentaries because you think it's cool or because you're just compelled and you can't not do it. It's just, in you and you have to go, you're compelled to go be with this person, even, you know, when your wife's pregnant and experiencing morning sickness, and, you know, you have to go spend time with this person. And I think that will come off. If you're genuine and honest with why you're doing this, they're gonna feel that.
Totally. And be upfront and honest with your life partner about your career.
Yeah. And what you're doing, you know, like it's a beautiful experience. Like, I mean, you're going to share, if you have someone in your life, whether it's, you know, an intimate person or family or close friend or whatever, like you're going to share this stuff with them. So, you know, it's always been helpful. They might second guess what the heck you're doing, you know, going to some of these places that documentaries take us. But, you know, ultimately, like you know, they're advocates for you as well. You know, they help keep you on track. So
I remember right before I was engaged, or right when I was engaged, I was away for like 2 months, and someone says like, "Is this difficult for you?" to my wife, and she goes, "Oh, well, I know what I signed up for."
Right.
You know, I was very
Cool.
upfront with the career and the trajectory. But so those are 5 ways for you to help convince and kind of sell your idea through to a potential documentary character.